Good afternoon to you. Mark Suttoth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Outlook and discussion for Friday the 13th, July 13th, 2018. I wanted to start things off with a look at the climatology of where we are and where we're headed. Obviously, we are between these 2 points here, July 10th and August 1st, somewhere around this area. And hurricane and tropical storm activity is normally supposed to be very, very low, and especially hurricane activity in this time frame right about there. That's pretty low. So the fact that there's really nothing going on out there is not surprising at all, and it's perfectly normal to see. So that being said, let's look at the I forgot to show this the other day, and I saw somebody mention it in the YouTube comments, so I wanted to bring it up here. And this is the dispersion of points of origin dating back to 1851. I don't know how often or how hard it is for them to update this at the Hurricane Center or the Weather Service or the Climate Prediction Center, whoever it is that makes this graphic. It's really cool, and it'd be nice to see it go out to 2017, but it's okay. We'll take what we can get. Nevertheless, you see what we have. Really, nothing in the eastern Atlantic develops this time of year, at least during this 10-day time frame. Just a few areas of development west of there. So the main development region, this area right through here, usually shut down in this portion of the season. You can see also the Caribbean Sea, especially the central, void of any activity, just a few areas here in the far western Caribbean, or Caribbean, whichever you prefer. And normally the eastern Pacific is lit up, relatively speaking, and there's nothing out there going on at the moment. And all of this subtropical development, I would guess that a lot of that was in El Nino years. Be interesting to see. So just, again, this part of July is really one of the quietest periods of the entire hurricane season, even comparable to early June, honestly. So no surprises there. Looking at the current map from the Hurricane Center, this is the only area anywhere in the world where there's an invest going on. And it's the remnants of Beryl, 30% chance. I think this will go up a little bit. The models are indicating that there's the possibility of more development right up in this window up here somewhere. And so it won't surprise me if this becomes a depression or a tropical storm again, and then more than likely going to head up here probably towards Newfoundland again. Hopefully that's not showing us a sign of things to come for the rest of the year, or it's going to be rather dismal for our friends in Atlantic Canada. But this one looks like it's headed that way as well, so we'll see. Other than that, there's really not much going on in the Atlantic Basin. Nice and dry in the mid-levels with all this Saharan air. And then you can see this enormous tropical wave curled up, cyclonic turning, very evident in the low cloud field. And this will continue to march west, and we will watch it. You can even see, to some extent, the incredible nature of the resolution of the satellite imagery, that the Saharan dust has made it again to the Yucatan and beyond parts of the southern Gulf of Mexico. Where is Beryl, by the way, the remnants? Right in there, if I had to guess, from this wide vantage point. It's trying to make something of itself again. You can see this stretched out, elongated area of energy, and there's the front that just came through, brought a bunch of severe weather to my area, and I'm going to show you what that looked like at the end here. I got a little treat for you. But overall, the tropics are nice and quiet again, not unusual in the least for this time of the hurricane season. So looking at the Saharan dust, you know, Jupiter has the giant red spot, and they say that it's a storm. It looks like we have a giant red spot as well. That is amazing, and it just shows you that these tropical waves can just completely envelop and surround themselves with this Saharan air, which is not only dry, but it's laden with particulate matter. But I want to point out, that being said, look at the colors here. You know, this is pretty dense here. But if you look at the scale, most of this is on the left side of the scale. So it's not like we're seeing it all over here where it's just insane amounts of suspended particulate matter. There's a few smatterings of pink showing up in here, maybe in the middle of the scale, but this isn't, in terms of the density and just all-out haboob blowing out into the Atlantic like we've seen out in Arizona the last few days. The incredible work of Mike Olbinski. I think that's how you say his name, Mike Olbinski. And Reed Timmer was out there. I wish I was out there, but there's still plenty of summer to go. I'm eyeing that, don't worry. The monsoon is really fascinating to me in the desert. And so you're not getting that same kind of thing right now in the Atlantic where it's just dense to the point where it's showing up over here. And once we get past mid-July, especially late July, this will start to do two things. It'll come off further to the north, or farther to the north, and I hate that, farther, and it'll also reduce in intensity as more convective activity comes over Africa, and the jet itself that causes this, the easterly jet, will be more north, and so forth and so on, and that's when the lid comes off, usually, for the hurricane season. All right, so yesterday I had the wrong date. I showed July 9th, and I wanted to update that. Somebody pointed that out. Thank you. I do not mind when you point out a mistake that I make. I always say I don't know everything. I'm not perfect. So, hey, point it out if I make a mistake. No problem. So this is yesterday's update from the NOAA-NESDA sea surface temperature anomaly. And yes, the main development region in here continues to warm, most of it now at or above the long-term average for the most part. And if you look at that on a plot, and this is from a different source, and again, there will be a day next week where I'm going to talk just about how this works, what the different methodologies are. I'm going to have somebody come on and help explain it. So this is not the same data set. And so what that means is basically if this were plotted like that is, the CDAS method, I think it would be even higher. And so this tends to be more conservative for what it's worth. That being said, look at where we are. It's statistically zero, right? Only 0.15 degrees Celsius, and it keeps going up. The MDR, the main development region anomaly, you can see it's been colder than, there's the normal right there, for months. And it really went south as we got into the summer and the first part of the season, and a lot of the seasonal forecasts, updates, etc., were made based on a lot of this right here. And other factors too, of course, the warming in the Pacific, which is the ENSO, the El Nino Southern Oscillation. But then, as we know, at the end of June, it's really rebounded, and there's a lot of talk about it. I've been following it from Eric Webb, and the screen name of one person is Not Sparta. I need to see who that is. What's their real, what is it, IRL in real life? Not Sparta. That's a good, strong name. They seem to know what they're talking about. And again, the crowdsourcing of information from people that know what they're talking about. You've got this whole side of the internet that's filled with conspiracy theories and kooks that don't know what they're talking about. And it's true. And then you have this other side of the internet that's filled with people that do know what they're talking about. They're highly intelligent, almost to the point of obsessiveness, which is fine as long as it's constructive, in my opinion. And then you got a whole bunch of people in the middle that don't know much, but they love to learn. And that's where it all comes in. And I think that I'm closer to the left side, hopefully, than the right, right? In terms of, I don't think I'm too kooky, but I like learning. And so watching other people like Eric Webb and Not Sparta, that's awesome. So to see that information getting mulled over by more than just people that work in the government or in academics. There are private sector. I'm a geographer. I'm not even a meteorologist by degree. I'm more of a climatologist and like a hurricanologist. That's not even a word, really, but but I know what I'm looking at, but there's other people that know more, and anyway, you get the idea. So what we have, sorry about that rant, this is going up, but conversely, I thought this was interesting. Hey, let me check the INSO 3.4. Yeah, it's been steadily rising, no doubt. Boy, if that was your stock portfolio, that'd be great. But then, in recent days, it's taken a dip. And even if that was your stock portfolio, that'd still be okay. But the Nino 4 area, which is what a lot of the seasonal forecasting is based on, where is that, by the way, in the Pacific? Roughly, I'm going to try to eyeball it, like out here, something like that. The Nino 3.4, roughly. And so, you can see it's warm, but it's not overwhelmingly so. And looking at the actual plot, which is awesome, it's come down. So the daily value is only 0.3, right on the dot, 0.30 Celsius above the long-term average. 0.5 is considered El Nino threshold. So look, we briefly touched 0.5 right there, real close to it, if not exceeding it, and then it went down, back up a little, and then down again. So we're about a month away from the heart of the hurricane season really getting its beginning, and the Nino is not raging, the Atlantic is warming, and I think there's evidence to show that it's going to continue to be that way. Check this out. Eric Webb tweeted this, and I want to zoom in. And by the way, you can follow him, Eric, E-R-I-C, Webb, W-E-B-B, Weber Weather, I believe, is his Twitter handle, if I'm not mistaken. Eric Webb, easy to find. If you know how Twitter with their algorithms is. If you're following me and you want to follow him, it should give you a good little match. So the ECMWF ensemble prediction system indicating in the eastern Atlantic. So this is your time series. This is the start of the forecast right here. This is where we've been back up here. And this is the prediction of where we're going in this area. And so to put it in very simple terms, stronger trade winds, normal to weaker trade winds, especially right through here. And this is all in the future. And where does this correspond? This is on the map through here, and then through here, about like that, and then way out in the West Pac, come on, Mark, get a straight line, all the way over to here, strong westerlies. But a lot of that's over the continent. So whatever. The main thing, these are some really strong trades that are forecast. If you look down, where does this correspond? I tried to do a straight line. That's the East Pac, folks, okay? And so strong trades in the East Pac, weak trades in the Atlantic. Interesting. And this is the ECMWF that a lot of people put a lot of credit in to. So, yeah, we'll see. As far as the next 2 weeks, let's go back. Just to show you how quiet things are going to be, this is the next 16 days of the GFS. There is the remnants of Beryl trying to make a little bit of a comeback well off the East Coast, and then you see it tries to go up there and pester Newfoundland once again, as Chris did. But then out in the MDR, speaking of that, and I'm going to be fair here, while it's warming, it's not warm enough, and it's not conditionally unstable just yet. And so these tropical waves, there's one there, that's that big one. And you can see it right there in the field of the isobars. Not much going on. The height field, reflecting it, but that's what you get in July. That's the other part of my point here. Even though we have all these interesting and rather suggestive factors of a busy season, or at least an average season, climatology is still the rule here. It's July, and not even mid-July yet. We're getting there, but this makes a lot of sense, and there you go. All right? Man, I got to bring the water back. That's what it is. Don't use my voice much during the day when I get up mid-morning, early afternoon. So I'm up late at night. Oh, I forgot the surprise. Whoops. I almost completely screwed up. I wanted to show you this. And I do need the water. It helps the brain too, right? So yesterday we had these severe storms, and before they happened, and I saw the forecast, it looks like we could have some severe weather. There was I can't remember, it was like the darker green, maybe an enhanced or a marginal or something, I don't know. And I thought, all right, could get some thunderstorms. So I took one of my GoPros that we're going to be using to record for a long time. If you go buy a GoPro and you even get the battery backpack that they sell, you might get 5 hours of record time. Most people use a GoPro for a few minutes, maybe the course of an afternoon. If they're at the beach, they're recording their kids, they're at the Disney World or whatever. Very few people in the world need a GoPro to run for 12 to 24 hours. I do. And if you remember, I've talked about this in the past, and if you followed my work, you know I do a lot of live stuff, and that's great. We all want to see it live. But we know the terrestrial network is susceptible, and in the recent months since Irma, where 3 of my 4 cameras went offline because the signal went out, because power went out, and the infrastructure went out, I lost those feeds, and it was devastating. And I'm like, all right, that's never happening again in terms of if you don't stream live, you're not recording either. And so I modified a GoPro, and I figured out how to get it to run for up to the full record time on a 256 gigabyte chip, which is 26 hours. And that's about the biggest chip that I can put in there, the capacity. How I did it, obviously I'm not going to talk about that. That would be stupid. But I can get it to run for a little over a day. And I like to test things. And so to get to my point, yesterday I took the case that the GoPro is inside of. It's a little yellow box that gives it extra shielding and to house the big battery that powers it. There's a little hint for you. And I stuck it on top of the old Tahoe. That's it right there, by the way. That's the roof of the old Tahoe that's no longer operational, still sitting in my driveway. And by the way, anybody out there that owns a Chevy dealer, if you would like to lend me your Chevy Tahoe that's been sitting on the lot all summer for the rest of this summer, send me an email. Because, whatever, story for another day. But that's the retired Tahoe. That's the weather station. This is one of the rusted KC lights on the back. 430,000 miles that thing had. But it makes for a good platform to put the case on top of and record the weather. So I stuck the GoPro out there, started recording, and it's recording in real time. 30 frames per second, high definition with audio. And then, of course, I brought it in after last night, and I processed it. And here's what I got. You can see the clouds billowing up a little bit. Let's go full screen with it. And then the thunderstorms start erupting over on the right-hand side. You'll see it really starts to come together. A few people out walking the dog, a little bit of traffic. This is my neighborhood. And then, bam, it just lets loose. A lot of lightning. I caught a little bit with my quadcopter. I posted that on Twitter yesterday. And then I had to land that thing real quick because the gust front was coming through. And the lightning was prolific. It was just insane how much lightning there was. So we boiled the atmosphere up real good, and then here comes the storm. Notice on the right-hand side how the wind direction will change. It's pretty cool. Almost looks like rotation in the atmosphere. Maybe like a little bit of a mezzo-low. And it is going counterclockwise. See that? Yeah, maybe some kind of a small mesocyclone. But there was no warnings. Then the rain and the lightning comes. A little bit of wind. It wasn't too bad. But the thing that was really remarkable to me is how well this recorded everything. The resolution's incredible. It ran for like 12 hours on into the dark. Last night I stayed up real late till about 2:30 in the morning, and then I went out and snatched it. Then the wind changes. That was kind of cool. And the storms pass. The sun eventually comes out as the sun sets, and that's gorgeous at the end. But let me just say this. Imagine, and I have 6 of these now. 4 of those thanks to our Patreon supporters, and I've invested some of that money back into purchasing more of these GoPros. So I've got 6 ready to go that I can stick out in a hurricane or any other big severe weather event, a nor'easter, big winter storm, maybe something out west with the monsoon. That would be cool. And this will just record, and I can go from anywhere from 12 hours to 26, depending on which chip I put in. And it worked really, really well. Here you'll see the sunset coming. Just beautiful. Good GoPro quality. Just amazing. So you have time lapse that you can create from this, but you can also, of course, look at it in real time. And that's also really going to be helpful for bringing clips, highlights, whatever. There's a sunset coming. I just thought it was neat, so I thought I'd give you a look at it. I'll make it available on YouTube a little while after I post this video. Look at the colors in the sky. I mean, it's a $500 camera, and it does such a great job. And my goodness, that I can put these virtually anywhere, as long as I can strap it to something, a tree, a column, a pole, a concrete pillar, whatever, in a big, especially dangerous, significant hurricane event where everybody's got to evacuate, or there's going to be big problems. This could really show us a lot that we can't see otherwise, that I can't film, that even the quote hurricane chasers can't stay for some of this stuff. That's what this is going to be for. So that's a little bit of a look of what I was doing. See, I'm always working on something, not just putting this outlook and discussion together. So thanks for sitting through that. I appreciate it. I'm done, and I don't have anything else to show, I promise. That's it. All right, have a good rest of your Friday. Be safe out there. It's Friday the 13th, and all that implies. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk more over the weekend.